And we are live, right? Bobby, everybody, we're live?
Oh, hello.
Okay, so a lot of guys were asking us to bring back Bobby, the man, the myth, the legend. He's not going to show his face, but he's going to be known as a mystery trader. Bobby, we're going to do this religiously every single Wednesday, my time, Tuesday, your time, right? Can you make a promise to the subscribers?
I will do my absolute best to be here.
Okay. So, why don't you give your quick story before we talk about the market? TDR, who is Bobby? Not where he's from, not his social security number, but what is Bobby's story with crypto and what is your kind of mission here?
Well, to be fair, my story is nothing special. It's really just like a lot of people's story in the space. I've been through probably 3 cycles, but only really been active for 2. Got wrecked my first cycle. I was the guy who was actually spending a ton of money on crypto.com, watching the Matt Damon commercial. Fortune favors Fortune favors the brave. And I went in, thought I was going to get free Netflix, but all I got was a round trip all the way down in a painful bear market. But learned a lot of lessons along the way and got my freedom, which is what I really wanted. You can see me down the street. I'm nothing special. I'm just the guy who wanted to get free from the 9 to 5.
Sick. So Bobby is really, I'll give a better story. He's more of like the guy, I would say, we've been talking about you for a while now, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, and probably why some people wanted to know as well, the 90 to 94K levels, okay? You know what I'm going to say, Bobby. We're at 92 right now. We did technically, would you count that wick to 89 or no, or 88?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize because I was off by like 600 or 400 points.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. Personally, I don't count the wicks, but I'm just a guy reading charts. So the level's holding so far. I expect it to hold. As I said in our community, I expect this to be the bottom for now. I actually expect a strong bounce from here. And why do I say that? In the past, when BTC actually shows even a little bit of green, alts really tend to bounce aggressively. And that's when the rotation is going to start to happen. I'm not sure if it's going to happen just a second, but that's the way it's looking. So people will rotate profits from BTC and move it into strong alts. There's going to be a 4th wave. There's going to be a alt season, but it's not going to be in every coin like it's been in the past. It's only going to be a select few. Zcash is an example of it, of what we're going to see. Question is, are people ready in their portfolios and not just holding crap?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things about this cycle is how we can't play them the same, or at least how we could play 2021. In 2021, I'm pretty sure you remember, pretty much everything went. It was pretty much just like you chuck something up the board and everything would 10x at that kind of last Q4, November, December time, especially gaming coins, especially meme coins, right? This cycle seems a little bit more selective, like you just said. Like Zcash is running, because it's that kind of narrative where it's privacy, right? Somewhat. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you're getting these select narratives that are running compared to previously where everything, every cat coin, every dog coin, every frog coin, every gaming project without a fucking working product, like Illumium, like other ones that we can mention, just ran because there was so much hype, there was so much FOMO. But now it just seems like we always say are there too many coins? So I think, like you said, altcoin selection is going to be one of the most important things you do with your portfolio, especially if you want to try and save yourself at times like now. Because if you just look at the Bitcoin chart, if you look at our GG indicator, something that me and you, Bobby, kind of created, I know you've got like a better one, but if we just keep it very, very basic, every single coin, pretty much since October, has been in this just massive, massive flip when it goes to blue, right? Every single one, you pull up every single one, it's just coming off the chart. Every single coin. And it's very scary because it's like, okay, well, how do you save yourself in times like this? Obviously, you decide to sell and short the market, right? When's the position starting to come back in? And are you still confident of the 90K kind of levels?
As of right now, yes, I'm absolutely confident that it's going to hold. Now, I mean, don't shoot me if we go to like, wick down a little bit and then it comes back within an hour or so.
Uh-huh.
But like I I'm not a prophet or anything like that. I
You know what?
just
You know what's
like I
funny?
said,
Can I just say? You know what's funny? Like there was two guys that, like two old friends that watch my YouTube channel, and like I've been just saying, oh, this is what Bobby says. This is kind of what I'm doing, right? I'm not doing anything special. We're hodling. We're using some DeFi pills, etc. But it was so funny. In the UK is a different time zone. I woke up to like this little wick on screen right now, and it's like Bobby was wrong. And then obviously by the time I woke back up, it was like, oh, we're already there. So it's just like they retracted their message because these little wicks, they happen, right? It's not really, unless it closes, unless you start falling below that, it's still, you pretty much called it perfectly so far.
and I mean, speaking of Wix, I know I sent you I sent you a little tweet that Coinbase had a while back that
Let's
you
pull that up. Let's pull that up. So Coinbase, Bobby, you sent me this. Altcoin season is coming. This was back in August 15th, 2025. Altcoin season is coming as September approaches. A transition to full-scale altcoin season is likely. A positive 3Q 2025 or Q2 stems from macro trends such as potential Fed rate cuts and expected regular announcements. More key themes. Why did you send me this?
So I sent you this because, if we can all just see the irony on it, uh, almost like 2 months later after that, most of the people on altcoins, they saw a wick that basically just liquidated everybody doing futures.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you were holding low leverage, even I had one or two of my positions liquidated at the time, because even if you were doing 2, 3x leverage, you probably got liquidated, even though that's pretty hard to do. But a lot of these coins, Atom, for example, wicked down to zero point, close to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say it's funny. It's just ironic of how much pain has been dealt to the market.
Okay. We've got some points we want to go over. There's kind of 9 points, and if anybody has any questions, I've got some other questions, like I said, for you, Bobby, as well. I want to chuck at you as like a secret little bonus. But, we always give the co-hosts some questions that you want to talk over. And you've got 9 points. I think they're very important. So for people listening right now, I can already tell there's people panicking, just looking at the chat. People just don't know what to do as usual, which is absolutely fine to have, because the first point on your point is emotions take over anytime the market turns red. What do you mean by that? Because I can tell you, again, I just wake up and I just see if it's green, there's emotions, good or bad. Oh, I need to get all of my last money in. If it's bad, the emotions come like, oh, Jake, or oh, the crypto market was supposed to save us. Now what am I supposed to do? I need to go back to the 9 to 5. So there's always emotions. When it's good, when it's bad, whatever. But what do you mean by that? Emotions take over anytime the market turns red.
I mean, I guess it's simple as I can say it. We've seen it happen, many, many times. People give up, they lose hope, they're done with crypto. But I've been at this market long enough to know that we should expect this to happen. I mean, this is normal. Anytime the market turns red, people start hating, they get angry, they get frustrated, they get bitter. And they always want to look for, who am I going to blame for this? Who told me? Oh, Bobby told me that BTC bottom was 90K and it wicked down to 89,600 and I got liquidated because I went 100x leverage. Just a little example of that. And we all know somebody that's lost money, or that they just don't want to own their mistakes. Like nobody's coming to save you, but at the same time, it's part of the game. And anytime you get green, you always have to remember that a red day usually follows if it's been euphoric.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel that. In 2021, it was emotional in the good way, but by the time 2022 kind of kicked in, because in 2021, honestly, like it was up every pretty much single day bar from that kind of like summertime. I don't know if you remember when we went down like 50%. That was tough, but it was also the case of like, well, I'm not really going to sell. You know, I'm just here anyways. I don't have any more money to buy. So we just kind of stuck with it. But now it's almost like different emotions because I feel like people are just angry because the cycle is supposed to be kicking in right now. This is altcoin time. It's November. We're round the corner 11, 12 days from December, right? We should be getting that Q4 fucking run. This is what we bet our fucking Christmas on, right? And now kids are going to be pulling up with no Christmas presents because their dad fucking lost everything on altcoin 6,000. So Christmas is going to be bad for these guys because in 2021 Christmas was great if you took profits, but now it's just the absolute opposite case. So how do you think what do you speak to the guy that's like, okay, well, it was the first cycle, they bought in maybe a little bit late, whatever, maybe they're break even or they don't know what to do. Like, is there still a hope for this altcoin season? And let's not even say they're in bad coins, right? Let's say they're in Ethereum, let's say they're in Solana, let's say they're in XRP, AVAX, HBAR, whatever you believe in. Is there still hope for these coins? Because that's what the guy wants to know that is working his 9 to 5, that has 2 kids and a mortgage. Is there still hope for him to have a good run? Or is it going to be 2026?
Well, it depends, right? Depending on what the expectation is. So, if you're down in the
The
red,
expectations is for some of these coins to get back to their 2021 high. AVAX, ADA, probably. A little bit of HBAR. We got close. Kronos. Like, is there hope for those to get back to 2021 or at least do some more damage?
I think there's a chance for them to do some more damage, but to be honest, I don't see them getting back to their all-time highs. So I think I said it last time. People need to adjust their expectations. And, for me, I have a big bag of pro, but to be fair, if I see the previous high that was what, 38, 39 cents, if I see some of that, I'm selling half my bag minimum. And I don't hold that many alts at the moment. I'm still sitting in mostly cash. I did close most of my shorts though at this point, so I'm going to wait for a re-entry. And I saw a question in the chat that I do want to address because I know last time I spoke about, I was thinking that we were going to have a sort of a relief rally once the government reopened, but usually after a long bleeding, and it was a Monday, so there was you know sort of a little pump and a pullback. I honestly think we still revisit. I'm not calling for Bitcoin all-time high anymore whatsoever, but I do think the market's going to give us a little pump, especially in Bitcoin, to maybe 113, maybe 116. At that point, I'll be shorting Bitcoin again. And after that, I really expect dominance to really, really, really drop and give us, the rotation that we're all waiting for. But then again, the government in the US was closed for a long time. So that definitely did not help the case. We had, there was a tweet. I forget who had said it, but the rumor started circulating on X that microsailors started selling their BTC. And, everybody starts panicking. And unfortunately, news is not what you should really be following, in my opinion, when it comes to making decisions. Because then again, you go back into emotions, right? Because if you think, oh, Sailor, who's the most freaking hodler guy ever when it comes to Bitcoin, starts selling now, what chance do we all have, right? So whether it's true or not, you start panicking, and then you want to sell everything just for you
Yeah.
to have pie on your face when you find out, like, okay, that wasn't true. He just went ahead and bought some more Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's almost like the main guy gave up and it's like, what choice do you have? If the main guy gives up, I didn't even see that news. This is actually going to tie into your second point. 90% of crypto Twitter is just noise, aka garbage. Like, I refuse to go on Twitter anymore because I know it's going to be truth, it's going to be false, and not that I'm going to take any action because we've been in the game long enough where it's just like what's true, what's not true, right? But yeah, what do you mean 90% of crypto is just noise, aka garbage? Is that kind of the stuff that you mean? Maybe people should just kind of log out, just like, okay, let's just take this winter season, if your country's cold right now, and just lock the F out, and just not look at the charts, not look at crypto Twitter, not look at maybe CMC all the time, not look at your crypto.com account, not look at your Binance account. Is that what you mean? Just chill out, just log out for a little bit?
I mean, in essence, like, my portfolio started getting so much better once I got out of X. I didn't log in all the time because it's either one way or the other, right?
Mm.
Everybody's either super bullish, we're going to the moon, or it's over. So if you just focus on the charts and keep BTC as a backbone and you actually really study it, the chart always tells you what's going to happen beforehand. And the rest is just noise. Anytime the market dumps, they just want to, blame it on the news. Like, oh, Trump said this.
Okay. Next question. Or next point. There's a lot of questions in chat, and we're going to get to you guys in a second. I see some interesting ones, whether it's good or bad. Nobody's going to save you. I guess this is kind of a motivational one. This is kind of like the stuff that I always talk about. Nobody's going to save you. Take charge and stop blaming others. Who are people blaming? Are people blaming the YouTubers? Are people blaming the Elon Musks? Are people blaming the Donald Trumps? Like, who should, when you say nobody's going to save you, you mean like people, you knew the real book when you signed up to cryptocurrency, right? Isaac, you got to stop twitching, bro. Every single stream, he's just twitching in that top right corner. Nobody's going to save you. What do you mean by that?
Well, because everybody think like, well, if this certain person now runs the Fed, or if this person is in the presidency in the US, then it's going to do this for my coins. And that has been so far from the truth. Everybody thought that, oh, Trump comes into office, crypto's going to pump to the moon. And, I hate to say this, but even in the meme coin space, we all know the trenches in Solana were super hot, right? I had a few good calls there, which was great. But then what did Trump give us? Or whoever was running his social media and crypto empire, well, gave us the Trump coin, gave us the Melania coin, and for the third knockout, gave us Baron, and basically sucked a lot of liquidity out of the market. So it was 3 for 3. Not what I had in mind for my bingo cards, but
you know what's funny about this, but also kind of sad? I know one was my brother, God rest his soul. There's 3 guys that literally sold their high conviction altcoins, literally the peak of this coin, to try and their goal was, and if you did this at home, it's absolutely fine. I was sleeping, so it was already too late, and I just didn't want to do this. But there was 2 reasons why I think this was bad. A lot of our meme coins, we lost all the volume, liquidity, the market caps of the coin because it went into this one. And then what happened was, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, is these guys now sold their maybe meme coins, top coins that we like. They put it in here. They lost all the fucking money and they could never reback back our coins. So is that what you mean? Like why we struggled? Like for example, Brett, I just noticed like some of these meme coins went fucking down when this was going crazy, and it's just never really recovered yet because all the money has been sucked into this coin. Now they can't sell, or they did sell and they're just done with cryptocurrency forever. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like a lot of the people wanted to buy Trump and basically just said like, oh, I'm going to sell my XPX 6900 that everybody likes. I'm going to sell my Doge. I want to sell everything that I have under the sun, and I'm going to buy Trump because this thing is going to go to $100. Well, guess what? It just ran the opposite way. You got rug. Then you think you're going to make it back in Melania. That rug's even faster. So yeah, it just gave a lot of people PTSD in the trenches.
Okay,
And
there's a couple. Sorry, go on. But there's an interesting question I just seen, which ties back into this point on our Google Doc list. Unless you have something massive, because I don't want to lose this comment because it ties back perfectly what you said.
no, go ahead.
So, and this guy just said, "Bobby, you're the man." So I don't want to roast him here, but he said, and it's all love, dude. We got scammed 3 times in a row from Trump's family. That was the worst part of the year. So when people say that, and again, this is all love, bro. Like it's Trump's fault, right? He's the reason, and it goes back to your point: is nobody going to save you? You have to take charge and stop blaming others. Would you tie that back in? Like, if you bought Trump at the peak and you lost 80% of your bag, if you bought Melania and I think it's down like 90%, whatever, is that their fault?
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what I was saying. I mean, honestly, how can you can blame Trump, but what is he going to say? Oh, I don't know what happened. It's a meme coin. What do you expect? You should
Ti-
have zero expectations for meme coins.
It ties back to me, and I bring this up as like a harsh lesson. Celsius, right? Alex Mashinsky is going to save us, right? Give us 10, 12, whatever percent APY in our coins. I was like, yeah, bro, I'll send over 400, 500 grand on my coins, and they're absolutely fine. Just working, working, working. Alex is pulling up to lives. His wife, I can't remember his wife. I don't know if she's in jail. She should be. But, there was a harsh reality in pretty much what happened to Celsius was the platform went down. All the coins were stolen, gone. Alex Mashinsky was selling behind the scenes, etc. And the harsh reality of me, to answer that point there, was I blamed Alex Mashinsky for so fucking long. I remember in the UK, like I would constantly, and this ties back to the previous question there before, was constantly checking Twitter. Every single hour, and I'm not joking, if you guys were in Celsius, or maybe you were in FTX, or maybe you were in BlockFi, all these platforms went down, I would religiously go to Celsius's Twitter page, Alex Mashinsky's Twitter page, and the wife's Twitter page, and I would check this every hour just for some update because I needed my coins back. And the harsh reality was, the longer as the days went back, and every single day, it just drained me. I couldn't barely make YouTube videos. I had no motivation to go to the gym. My diet started to slip. And it was because I was like, it's Alex Mashinsky's fault. I need these coins back. It cost me so much money to buy these coins. Just please give me my coins back. And yeah, it was my fault. It wasn't Alex Mashinsky's fault, somewhat. It was my fault for taking the risk to trust them, to trust platform, because it was good until it wasn't, right? And it took me like maybe 3, 4, 5 months to be like, okay, these coins aren't coming back. Maybe you'll get a buyout, which I got back around 100K, 120K, whatever. But I was never going to get back the initial assets I had because they were gone. And it took me 6 months to like get back in the game and take it seriously again. So a lesson for you guys, if this is your first run and you're blaming Trump and maybe you bought some pre-sale coin that some YouTuber mentioned or some guy mentioned, maybe it was a bad call, maybe you lost money, but you decided to press the buy button. And the quicker you can understand that, the quicker you can take that lesson and maybe make a different adjustment next time. Because for me with Celsius, if it was still running today, I would still be in it right now, but I would lose way more money. Do you know what I mean? If it went down today. So I'm grateful that we did lose the money. I wish it was way less, but I would be in it forever. And then maybe one day when I've got a 10 million, fucking 20 million portfolio, 3, 4 cycles down the line, I would have lost it all anyways. So sometimes it's good to get burned to realize the lessons to not do that mistake again, especially in crypto. Because I've bought many pre-sales, and maybe you have as well, where it's just went to zero. The coins have never launched. the influencer scammed you. We've all been there.
Yeah, I mean, remember I think one of the first jokes that we had, you and I, was what was this guy named on YouTube? Crypto Gains. He was honestly promoting a different rug every single week, sometimes even 2 or 3, and they were just scamming people. And basically, they had no care to wreck their community whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
They were just taking those deals, wrecking people, moving on, and for some reason they still had an audience. And like I said, I mean, they're not going to save you. An influencer's not going to save you. You can only save yourself. Even going back to the example of Celsius, I mean, you learn a hard lesson, right? Self-custody. Don't give anybody else custody of your assets.
Yep.
There
let's
was even
go on. Sorry.
just a quick point. I still remember Alex Mashinsky had an interview where he was debating Peter Schiff. And don't get me wrong, I don't take any crypto advice whatsoever from Peter Schiff because all he talks about is gold and how crypto's a scam, even BTC. Now he's changed his tune a little bit nowadays. But anyway, back in the day, he was debating Mashinsky, asking him, like, where is this yield coming from? And Mashinsky was just like, oh, yeah, Peter, just give you yield, Bitcoin. And, at that point, I realized, come on. He has a solid point. It was a scam. It was a Ponzi. We just didn't see it sooner. I mean, I got rugged in Celsius as well. I only got the stuff back that I had I didn't have in the earn section, just on the, your basic wallet there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Isaac, can you check your phone real quick? It's important. We do have a super chat. So we were going to answer this one. We take priority because we love. I thought that said $199. I got a little bit too much dopamine there. It's actually $199, but we appreciate it. Bobby, I guess this is for you. Any thoughts on Coinbase's monad?
Yeah, actually, I actually posted in the group, I think it was yesterday. I actually bought into it. I mean, this was one of the hottest, most talked about launches of the year, right? Maybe even the past 2 years. They've been developing for about 2 years. So yeah, I think it's going to do well, to be honest. Not financial advice of any sort, but yeah, I went ahead because I have Coinbase One, so I went and got myself a nice little allocation, and I know a couple guys from our group did as well. Now, do I expect this to 100x? Absolutely not. Do I expect this to 50x? Absolutely not. But do I expect this to do well? And this goes back to the point. Hey, let's adjust our expectations.
Okay, let's see what this post is about, right? So you posted about this, so it's actually perfect. This guy asked. I didn't even see this. It was a day ago. So monad sale is live on Coinbase. You did 7.5% total supply for the sale below. So this is live in 4 days, 3 days.
Yeah, this is still live. It's still going to be live for another 4 days, but I don't think the sale is going to go for that long because, Coinbase has 7.5% of the supply available for people to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically have a USDC amount. They have 187.5 million available. People already bought 123 million roughly. So at this rate, I want to say by the end of the day tomorrow, I think it's going to be sold out, to be honest.
Okay, cool. Looks like Joe bought in.
And I do like. I will just say I do like the distribution model that they're doing. So basically, just so the whales can't really just, grab all the supply. So they're going to fill from the bottom, is what they're saying. So basically, they're going to fill all the little orders beforehand. And as, if in case they oversell, right, they're going to fill the larger orders last, just so that a whale is not just going to dump on everybody, but, without any shame. So yeah, there's always going to be outliers, right? No matter how the market is doing.
It's funny, there's a question here. It's not really the kind of question I want to answer, but it was like, anybody else do figures on how much money they would have made if they would have done the following cycle? They buy blue chips in fear, selling big pumps. So I didn't do the maths on this, but it's funny you mentioned that. Can't even read your name. My portfolio is now 886K. If Isaac can show this on screen and lock in, bro. He's not locked in, not had his caffeine. And basically, I was at dinner last night, right? And I was doing the maths. This kind of hit the peak so far. Maybe it's the downfall. I've done this again in the 4 years. It was at like 1.3, 1.35. So theoretically, it's like 400 or 500K down so far, right? And I was doing the maths and I was like, fuck, if I listened to you, Bobby, I could have bought 2 Lamborghinis, 1 Porsche in my country, not in Thailand because it's like 6x the price here, or 1 good Lamborghini and 1 shitty house. I was just doing the maths last night. There was like 3 or 4 of us at dinner and I was like, fuck, because I could have sold at 1.3 bought the fucking supercars for free, rebought back in, and there would have been a big difference there. So yeah, it kind of pissed me off a little bit, but you know, that's just the game. Everybody always looks back. If I would have bought this, sold it at this price, I would have had this much free. I would have been able to double my coins. You're probably the only guy that I've publicly talked about this that did this plus shorted the market. Like you don't have to talk about dollar value here, but you've probably made a lot more USDT or USDC when you do decide to buy back in. It's going to do a lot of damage, right? If that's still the goal.
Yeah, I mean, I hope honestly you don't wait another 4 years for that to happen. But
yeah, I'll do
you
it.
know, the main point is like just don't dwell in the past right now. I think the market is going to give you one last chance, to exit at a decent price. And if you do decide to rotate, and maybe you hold some of the winners in your alts. I know somebody was asking about H bar. I don't hold any H bar, but I know you are the H bar guy. So if H bar has a good run, then you'll be okay if you decide to, press the trigger at the right time.
Well, the problem I'm having with H bar is it's like, if I just zoom in here, 2021 made money on paper. 2022 had a bet. It was a YouTube video. It was like if H bar hit 14 cents. I don't know if you remember. I know you used to watch the channel because Bobby, you were a fan when we used to talk about crypto.com hit $100. Basically, I was like, if H bar gets below 14 cents, it was either I was going to buy 40,000. You can still see this on my channel. It's still there documented. The absolute failures of this H bar coin. Although we are in profits right now. 14 cents was like, and again, I didn't know this was the bear market. This was my first bull cycle. I was like, we didn't know what to do. We had no fucking idea, or at least I didn't. When you invest in cryptocurrency, what is a 4-year cycle? Now that's what we're having a problem with right now. Is the 4-year cycle finished, right? Because we're fucking right there where we should be. Unless it just went parabolic, the 4-year cycle is finished, right? As far as we can see. But back here at 14 or so cents, it was like, okay, I made this live bet on YouTube. I was going to put like $40,000. I ended up swapping my Ethereum for it, which made it even worse because Ethereum bled less than HBAR because it was a stronger coin, and this just went to shit. But I've been in HBAR, and yeah, just HBAR is probably the longest altcoin I've held because thank God I couldn't lock up my HBAR in Celsius, or I would have lost all that as well. Like if Celsius said, oh yeah, we'll take your HBAR. I don't know if they did, but I just never decided to do it. I would have lost all those coins as well. So thank you, Alex Pashinsky, for not taking my HBAR. But the thing with HBAR is I've been in this coin 5 years now. Over 5 years, actually, if you think about it. And I've had many, and you guys can probably relate, there's been many, like, I wish I would have sold here on this massive pump. Could have rebought, could have did everything. There's another Lamborghini. There's another 2 Lamborghinis, right? There's another fucking sick holiday. Like, some of these pumps you look back on, and it's like, fuck. If your average is 3-4 cents, 5-6, I think it ranges 6.8 cents on paper, and do not sell at 33. This pump was crazy, but also this pump, to me, it's like every time you get a massive pump, like, some of the guys probably resonate with this with XRP, right? This coin was a stable coin until it wasn't, and it's like, okay, when this coin's 6 to 7x in like give or take a month or so, you're like, okay, I've got so much more money, if that's high 5 figures, high 4 figures, 6 figures, maybe 7 figures for some of the guys that were heavy in here. And it's like, you could either sell, which would have been the smart thing to do. But then, I don't know, your monkey mind, especially for me, I don't know how you feel, Bobby, or guys in the chat, if you can resonate with this, you just think it's going to keep going. You just think, okay, it's just done so crazy, but now it's going to hit 5, now it's going to hit 6. Maybe the $10 XRP is in play. And I think it still is in play down the line. But to not sell this, every time I just look back and be like, Jake, what are you doing? Do you feel like that a little bit? Or is it just me and some of the Jeffreys in the chat? Because that's how I feel all the time.
No, I don't feel like that anymore, to be honest. Like I said, like once I pressed the trigger and sold mostly, 85, 90% of what I had, that was it for me. That was the psychological reset that even personally I needed, just to basically lock in profits to the point where I could say, like, look, I won't be happy if the market, keeps going up, but I won't be devastated. Like I said, I locked in profits. Nobody wants to be the guy who leaves the party too early,
Yeah.
but you know, uh, it's hard, but it has to be done.
Yeah, I see a comment here. When Bitcoin goes down in a bear market, other coins are going to go down much more. Yeah, we always see that, right? That's typically why people play altcoins, right? Especially if you have the lowest amount of money, or you just want to play catch up. Like, we always see when Bitcoin dumps, and this is just always the case, altcoins will go down. The smaller caps will get absolutely wrecked, bar obviously from outliers like Zcash, etc. And if you were one of the guys to catch one of those coins, like some of your coins that you read up on the side there on Deck Screener, right, that you were talking about before in our group, you can make money. There is outliers, but like most of the solid caps will bleed more. And it just is so provident to me that every time I look at my portfolio, my best profit and loss has been Bitcoin. Isn't that funny? It has technically been Bitcoin. Now, yes, I put the most amount of money in Bitcoin, but like my number one asset for the whole of this cycle, HBAR was flipping Ethereum, but it's just now like 100K less or 80K less. But HBAR at that peak was like 270 grand in profit, which again is another Lamborghini. But it's just funny how like most people, their best asset in times like this is always Bitcoin. It's always Bitcoin, right? It's just always, it just bleeds less. It just holds its line, because a 25% dip or whatever, 30% dip, whenever you want to count it, on Bitcoin sucks, but it's a lot better than minus 60%. It's a lot better than minus 100% and some of these Solana meme coins that never fucking made it. So I just think that's funny how like we always go back, and Bitcoin, I don't know, I just feel like in the market, I see it on YouTube, I see, Ben Cowan, I don't know if guys know Ben Cowan, he's just like, people are now gravitating towards like, just let's try and get as much Bitcoin as possible. And that was always a goal for me. My goal was to write up altcoins. I still have that goal, by the way. I'm not selling. To try and buy as much Bitcoin in the bear. That's always been my goal, to get as much Bitcoin as possible. Because if I go away in 10 years, 20 years time, I can comfortably say that Bitcoin will still be around. I don't know if Solana is going to be around. Should be. I don't know if Render's going to be around. I don't think Brett's going to be around. I don't think some of these other coins are going to be around. But if I was to die and go away for 10 years and get reborn again, I would probably say Bitcoin's going to be alive. And if it wasn't alive, all my altcoins are worth nothing anyways. Because I don't think there's anybody dethroning Bitcoin. Gold 2.0, I just don't think it's ever going to be beaten.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And you have a point. And just before I forget, I think I saw a comment from, I think it's ADOG3306, and this is probably the best comment of the night, I think, when he says 10x returns may be the new wow, I made 10x, not 100x anymore.
Yeah.
And that's precisely what I mean when people need to adjust their expectations. You're probably not, you may not like what I have to say, but I just want to tell you the truth. Honestly, if you adjust your expectations and you end up taking profits, to 10x your account balance, it's not a small feature, it's not a small accomplishment. So if people can live with that, even you, Jake, if you did a swing trade with a lot of your tokens, you might have probably pulled that as well with HBAR and a lot of the other ones.
And I always remember remember when I made the initial GG, then you made it better? I always come back to the GG on the daily, and it just seems to be always somewhat correct. It kind of called the sell here, give or take 100. I know you pretty much timed it better. Obviously, the GG can't flip it that exact, but I don't know. The GG seems to be always fucking right. I don't know. It just seems to be, it's going to keep you safe if you're not using leverage. It's kind of just like most coins on the daily, on the weekly, it's pretty much spot on. It's what I can see. And I just so say that, why didn't I follow the GG on some of these altcoins when it flipped to blue, when that would be when you sell? I would have just saved a lot more of the downside. A lot more of the downside. Now, I said, Bobby, I would chuck you kind of 2 to 3 questions. We're getting close on time here. We've got 21 minutes left, and there's still a lot of points on your Google Docs sheet and probably some chat comments that we want to talk about. But I want to chuck these to you, Bobby, because it's literally addressing you. Okay. First question. It's not really a question, but I'll just say it. Bobby, is the effing bottom in? Are we now going to 140K?
So I don't think we go to 140K anytime soon. Now, we may hit an outlier by the end of 2026, but I think we don't go back to all-time high. I think we already had that triple top. And, I honestly think that was the peak for now. But
I want to.
if the 4-year cycle is done, right, and I think that seems to be the consensus now, does that necessarily mean we're going to have 4 years of a freaking bear market? So a push for Bitcoin to go up to those levels, it's possible, but not until the end of 2026, because I expect if something's going to happen, it's going to be either from here to the end of the year or first quarter of next year. After that, I honestly see a recession coming. And I know that's fairly obvious and people don't like that, but that's just what I see.
There's a post here by Q, one of our dear XRP holders, in our post. I didn't see you comment on this, but I would like to get your points on this because he talks about. I'll just read it. Looks like we're near the bottom. Okay, and this kind of ties back to the question. Okay, 16 extreme fear, blah blah blah. We already talked about this again. Fear and greed index is at fucking local lows. This should mean the weak hands flushed all the liquidity out, so we should start to see an upside if we are correct at the downweight of the 4 Elliott wave cycle. Now, I don't know about you, but do you agree with what Q is saying here? He's basically calling you right with the 94K, 90 to 94K. But do you agree with like the people that do the what, do, and then you go? Like, do you see that as a scenario or not at all now? Because you just said 140 is just really not impossibility.
I mean, like I said, we could get to 140, but not until the end of next year.
The end of next year.
Yeah, I think the government has screwed way too much with, trying to make crypto better, but anytime Congress tries to fix anything in the US, well, we know how that goes. Not really well, right? They're great at breaking things, but not at helping really anything. So the silver lining that I see here is an alt season. In select alts, I still think we're going to have it. I'm 100% certain of that. And I probably shouldn't say that, right? Because the only thing that's certain, what do they say? It's death and taxes.
You shouldn't say it on this stream because they'll hold you to that, Bobby. They'll hold you to that 100% if we do these every single week. They'll never let that go. Say 99.
Well, look, I'm just a guy here with an opinion, right? Honestly, I just have that much conviction. That's what it is. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's okay.
And this goes back to the point about nobody's going to save you. Take charge and stop blaming others. So his 100% call there, he didn't give you a time frame somewhat. He said Bitcoin end of 2026. But, if you start buying top altcoins right now, again, I don't think it's a bad bet, especially if they're strong. If they didn't play out, you can't blame Bobby. Bobby's just here to give us an opinion. And you take it for its worth. It's always spiritual advice. That's what we like to say in our group. But, you've called pretty much a lot of stuff right, even this guy TJ, right, one of our guys in our group, King Bobby called it again 4th time this year. Like, you've pretty much called it in our group. And I just wish more people would have took it more seriously, because you would have saved a lot of people a lot of headaches. You would have saved a lot of people a lot of money. And you would have really just made people breathe a lot, because there's so many people, including myself, that are just kind of stuck right now. And if you feel stuck, drop it in the comments below, because I'm looking at my portfolio and I'm not here to accept 886K. It would be nice, but when I've seen this at 1.3, 1.4, that's what I'm thinking about right now. And the goal was 3. So it's just kind of difficult right now, especially I can only imagine for the guys that need the money, that needed the money for like quitting the 9 to 5. I don't know, like just freeing up their time. Some people just need 6 figures to like just give them some breathing time. If that's 1 or 2 years, 3 years to kind of like figure themselves out, maybe to reduce hours, they're in a difficult situation because they can't just sell if their portfolio was worth 100K and now it's worth 25K or less. It's just one of those situations. Do you take it and get out, but risk the chance of it coming back and you buying back in higher, and then you people constantly losing, buying high and selling low.
that's the Jeffrey pattern, right?
Yeah, but it just depends on your goals and it just depends on your situation. Remember in 2021 or kind of 2022 when we used to have like our group before this? I don't want to say people's names, but there was two guys in particular. One started with a P. You know what I'm talking about. He was bald. He remortgaged his house and didn't tell his wife. Remember? And it went to shit. And he bought that coin. What was it called? It was a gaming coin. It was a black coin with a yellow logo. Do you know the name? I don't want to mention it because the guy just lost his shit. He also moved. He's also not with his wife anymore. I don't know if that was because of the remortgage of the house. It was. I can't remember the name's coin.
I think it was Game Swift.
Game
right?
Swift. Game Swift was the coin. Remortgaged the house. Now he has two mortgages or two loans, whatever. Put it all in this coin. I think it went to zero. And he's out the game. That's the problem.
I mean, probably. I mean, I do want to give a silver lining here and give people some hope, not some false hope, but what I see in the charts, right? So if you go back to the post that Q made,
Yes.
and you can probably see that the origin of the move for Bitcoin was 75K. So why do I bring this up? I honestly think that's where Bitcoin's going to be heading when we're actually into a full bear market. So, this is not to say, when we look back into this, it's not for me to say like, okay, look, I was right. It's not what this is about. But I'm just telling you this so people don't panic. If you go back to when Bitcoin was 16K, right, it basically did a 7x all the way to the top, right? And you just have to remember the origin of the move in Bitcoin at that level. That's the level that everything else is anchored in. If you really study that, 75K for Bitcoin, that's when everything really started to move, right? Not a lot of the alts, but that's when the market sentiment really started shifting, right? Now, what's going to happen now? Well, you're not just going to see people just rotate all the way into USDT right now. A portion of that is going to flow into select alts, which is what I see. And they're going to position themselves ahead of time, which is probably what's happening right now. They're going to position for the next wave, right? Is the fourth wave that I'm talking about. And this is the rotation. Going back to your previous question, is there a chance for that person who still hasn't made any money whatsoever? I think so. I mean, this is the opportunity that you need to capitalize on. And again, I'm not saying BTC is going to hit 75K tomorrow. No. But I'm saying we're probably going to see the price return to that level anywhere between 3 to 6 months. Okay? So that's, you can hold me to that. Okay?
What's your opinion on the SMA that people say, oh, we're now past the 50-week, right? The moving average, whatever, right? Like, people have said that, many YouTubers have said that, like, we broke this 50-week, the 100-week is now intact. I see also, like, the 200-week, this kind of purple line on screen. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can. Like, do you ever see us breaking this? I know we broke it in 2022, this kind of thing, cycle, etc. But we should not break this, and this is obviously constantly just going to keep kind of stabilizing up. Like, what's your bear case for Bitcoin? Like, worst case scenario price. Do you think you break this 55 level, or no fucking chance?
And here's the question. I mean, are we talking about a wicks? Are we counting the wicks?
We don't talk about wicks. We're sleeping at wicks. Doesn't count.
Well, there you go. So I honestly think like worst case scenario is going to be probably 72, 73K on a wick. But I think 75K is the level that I'm going to be banking on, to be honest, as the absolute bottom. So you just need to ask yourself, like, does it really matter if you miss the bottom by like 2, 3K? No, right? You just want to be right more than you are wrong. And I know it sounds dumb and a little simplistic, but that's going to be my bottom for me.
Okay. All season like 2021, need to remember that back in 2021 there were only 20K coins and much less traded. Now there's 40 million. Yeah, I've said that before. Like, In 2013, there was like nothing, bar Bitcoin and probably some alts. In 2017, wasn't much. 2021, they were starting to get a lot of coins. I don't know if it was 20k coins. It might be. It depends what you count, right? But there's just so many fucking coins now. And that's why it's like now you can't buy any single coin and it's going to go up. You just can't. And we're seeing that right now in real time. You just cannot. So asset selection, especially right now, because imagine what he just said there, if we go down the 70s, the 80s, whatever he said, even if it's on the wick, imagine your altcoins. They're going to be so fucking much in the toilet. Most of my altcoins are actually going to be now, like, the H bar is probably going to be in the red. I don't know if it's going to go down to 7 cents, but it'll be close. So even these positions that were up 200, 250, 270k at like the 40 to 38 cents, they're going to be naturally in the toilet. So you just have to keep that in mind. And if you can't handle that, I don't know. I'm not telling you to sell. I'm not telling you to do anything, but I'm just telling you what I'm doing. I'm just telling you what he's doing. But that's something you need to guys understand, because like we said before, if Bitcoin starts to go to these level, another 20 grand, 15 grand off the table, what do you think Ethereum is going to be worse? I mean, Solana is probably going to be worth less than 100. AVAX is probably going to be worth less than 7. HBAR is definitely going to be worth less than 10. Kronos is going to be back in the toilet at 5 cents. Sui is going to be less than $1. Can you handle that? I don't know. Couple more points, Bobby.
It's a pickle. It's a pickle, no doubt about it. But, you know, I honestly do see, like I told you before, I see some silver lining. The weekly and the daily stock RSI already, you know, they fully reset for a lot of coins, right? And that alone is why I believe there's going to be a relief rally, you know, for the time being, right?
Let's talk about that, because one of your points here is probably what people actually want to know. And I'm not telling you to get out your crystal ball. I'm not saying that at all. But one of your points here, select altcoins will rise. We need to capitalize on opportunity as a rotation is likely around the corner. I'm not telling you to name any altcoins, but what do you mean by select altcoins will rise? What does that mean? I know you're going to say Zcash. That's already happening in real time. What does that mean? Can you give some hope for anybody out there that's just got blue chips, that has Ethereum, that has Solana, that has XRP, that has HBAR, that has Crypto.com? Like, what does that mean?
I mean, to be fair, Zcash obviously is too late, I think. Now, it's possible it runs at 2x, but that's a little too late in my book. Honestly, you may not expect this, but I expect Solana to have a big run. I expect Ethereum to underperform. You know, shocker, we already saw Ethereum do that, but I still expect it to underperform. But I do expect Solana to run, right? So that might be a good place for me to allocate capital. Not to tell people what to do, but that's where I would allocate capital. What else? It depends, right? So you can see things like Monad. I actually bought into that. Like I said before, it's really going to be where the attention flows, right? We really live in an attention economy. Not a lot of people care about utility coming out of the meme coin cycle in Solana and the trenches, but they're coming around to it, right? Because what's the narrative now? Privacy, right? If there's another competitor that springs out against, you know, Zcash, I think that's where the money's going to flow. I know I'm pretty sure Bitcoin Cash is going to make a run. I'm pretty sure Litecoin is probably going to make a run. It's some of those very few select alts, and a lot of those are Dino coins, right? I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, and that's where I'm going to be rotating.
Shout out Bitcoin Cash. I live with one of the guys in my apartment in one of the big place that we live in, the room next door. That is basically, I don't want to say 100%. Shout out Ram if you're watching this. You're probably sleeping, bro. You're probably sleeping because you sleep late. His whole portfolio is give or take in Bitcoin Cash. And he needs, I don't want to say he needs this to happen, but, you know, it's always funny when I looked at Bitcoin Cash when I first met this guy, I almost forgot it's a top 12 coin. I would honestly count it as a top 10 coin because I don't count USDT and USDC, but they're always going to be there. Their market caps are always going to go up. USDT is probably going to be like number 2 eventually. It's flipping around there just because it's just always going to be one, at least is what I can see, and they'll always print coins. But his kind of story is like made a bunch of money on XRP. He's been in Bitcoin Cash, loves Bitcoin Cash. I've never liked it, but I can't argue. Here's the reason why I've never liked it. I still find it hard. I don't know, Bobby, if you can answer this. We've not got much time left, and I was going to make one more point. But how is this coin like top 12, I would say top 10, and nobody talks about it? Like, how is this still alive in terms of market cap? I think that is crazy. And it's been around forever.
Because a lot of people still believe, and they have their good argument that Bitcoin Cash, sorry, it's the OG Bitcoin.
And that's his argument as well. That was his exact argument. He was like, this is the Bitcoin. This is something that I can, like, it's faster. It's like I can, one day eventually we're going to be using this. Bitcoin was supposed to be used as money, he would always say. And I get that. But that was his whole argument. So in the last month, it's not actually that bleeding that much. It's actually up compared to most of these other coins. So it's actually not doing too bad. We always have the argument in this house with H-bar flipped Bitcoin Cash, give or take 3-4 months ago. Now it's fucking miles away. So we have this like mini war in our apartment. Now I'm 8 spots off of him. He's at 10 billion. I'm at 6. Crazy. I want to make this point. We have 5 minutes left. I've lost it. When I show you this, guys at home, the reality of crypto, we've all seen this, right? We go back to, I think this was 2017. Nobody's in line for Bitcoin at $9,000, but everybody's at 2021. They want to buy the 20K. Everybody, this should be say 125, but you get the point. Everybody was in line to buy Bitcoin and their altcoins at 125, but now nobody wants to buy at 90. We've all seen this argument, right? You take this further. Was there no bull run this cycle at 16K, 22, and 23? Everybody was in line to buy 100. Down the line, everybody's going to be in line to buy at 1 million. Just on food for thought there. So on Bitcoin, you can change this to whatever altcoin you want, but obviously it's risky to bank on some altcoin being around for the next 10 years or whatever. Don't you think this is funny? And you've probably felt this as well. I've definitely felt this with my mom, mostly dad. He was excited to buy or interested now to learn about Bitcoin at $123,000, but he wasn't interested when we were talking about it at 16. I think that's funny because these guys will probably never lose any money on Bitcoin in their life. Would you agree with that? Just hodled Bitcoin at $16,000? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, obviously, history repeats itself, and we're probably going to be in the same position in a couple of years. We would have thought, we would have wished, that we would have bought more Bitcoin.
All right, we got 2 minutes left, Bobby. I want to chuck this question to you. It's an interesting question, and a few of our guys answer this in our community. I don't understand why we are going down other than timing. We've got all the institutions, regulations, even ETFs for some altcoins. Sure, the interest is higher, but it's not crazy. What do you think about that? We have 2 minutes left. Why he doesn't understand why we're going down. Institutions, regulations. Why are we still going down?
Well, part of it is that, obviously retail is not here yet. Institutions don't actually sell the exact same way that you and I sell. They have OTC markets for that. And, they just use the OTC desk. They sell, quietly. And that's usually why. And it's manipulation as well.
1 minute left, guys. No time for chat. Bobby, any last words before we get you on next week? Any kind of advice you want to give anybody out there that, that is struggling, that doesn't know what to do, that's thinking about selling? And maybe selling is a good point. Like, selling might be the logical situation. Not that you should try and time the market, but if you're just, and if you need the money, it might not be a bad bet. I don't know. It's obviously an individual case. I'm not selling, but you've already sold and you're like 85% cash, whatever. So you're playing the kind of trader game. Any advice to somebody that's kind of selling, but not really selling, that doesn't really know what to do, that you can give in the next 30 seconds? Because we got to go.
I mean, just don't take your eyes off the market, even if you think that you haven't done great this cycle. Just keep your eyes on the market, understand where BTC is, and this is the time when opportunities are going to come out. They're not going to have an alarm for you. They're not going to come, when the influencers are shouting at you, "Hey, buy this, buy that." No, you're going to be their exit liquidity. But, you know, Sol, I think is going to do well. Position yourself, but also take another look at your portfolio. If you have crap there that's underperforming, it's okay to say goodbye.
Agree. First time catching you live, great shows. It's a regular thing. We will be live, me and Parker Monday, me and Bobby Wednesday, Bangkok time, 8:30 a.m. And me and Parker are live again tomorrow, 8:30. Bobby, good to have you. Hopefully see you next week. Guys, Isaac, end the stream. Appreciate you being here. And we'll see you tomorrow with me and Parker. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, guys. End the stream. Isaac.